Hi everyone and welcome to my tutorial. This is an edge light that I made and I'm going to walk you through the steps and how I created it. An edge light is cast acrylic 1/8 inch and I create the design and then I etch it with the laser and on 3 separate panels. And the base underneath, which is made by Edge Light Kits, is shining up through each individual panel a different color. And I'm going to walk you through how I made this. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the Edge Lights website. That's Edge, EDGE lights, LIGHTS.com. And you can go to this Buy button and then scroll down to Getting Started. Whoops. Alright, scroll down to Getting Started and you'll see this large download button. You want to click that button and it'll have all the starter files for the kits depending on what you're using. If you're using Corel, you can use that. If you're using Adobe Illustrator like I'm using today, you can do that. So you just click that. And when that opens, it'll look like this. And so you have this file, this design here. It's already preset to a black line at 0.072 point stroke weight. That's 0.001 inch if you're using inches as increments. The cut line layer is locked, and that's because if you start mucking around with some of these screw holes and this inner cutout part, then the electronics are not going to align correctly, and the screws will not. It just won't go together right, depending on if you kind of mess around with that. So that's locked. I will have other videos where I can show you a new cut line if you want to make something like that, do a different cut line. But for this example, I'm going to be using their basic shape here of a rectangle that the kit comes in. All right, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to find a Captain America shield. This is so I'm going to go to. Just going to go up here to image, make a new image search here. Captain America shield. And I'm going to go to images. And I think I'm just going to, doesn't have to be super high res, but I think I'm going to choose this one right here. Click on that. And I'm just going to right click and I'm just going to copy the image for now. And go back to Illustrator, and you can just, oops, gotta make sure that I select the panel 1, not the locked layer, and I'm gonna paste it in. It's a little big, so I'm gonna go to the scale tool, and I'm going to scale the graphic down to a more manageable size. Oops. Make sure you hold the shift key when you're scaling, or else it'll warp it like that. So I'm going to get it down there, switch back to the black arrow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hold down Command or Control if you're using. Well, I'm going to hold Command and hit 2. So I'm going to lock that shield. Alright, so now, first thing I'm going to do is draw a circle. And let's get this the right size here. Just reposition it slightly. And now I'm going to use that same circle over and over. I'm going to give it, right now it doesn't have a stroke or fill. You can give it a fill if you want to do that, but I'm going to use a stroke instead. So I'm just going to hit Shift X to switch that green color to the stroke. So now it's the stroke, and I might want to bump up the size just so I can see it a little bit easier. So I'm going to select that circle. I'm going to hold Command and hit C. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm just going to paste in front. So that's Command F to paste that circle back in front. And I see what's going on here. I need to show bounding box. Couldn't see I knew something was wrong when I pasted that graphic in. Alright, so I'm going to resize the circle now. If you just click and drag, it'll warp it, but you hold shift again and you can keep it keep the dimensions, keep it as a perfect circle, but you can also hold alt while you're doing that and it'll keep it centered. So I'm going to hold alt, shrink that down. I'm going to go ahead and do that again, copy and then paste in front, Command F, and I'm going to do that again and just pop that down right on top of that circle. And then I'm going to do that one more time, copy, Command F, and then holding shift and alt, keeping that centered, and I'm going to shrink that down to be this size. Alright, so now I have my circles done, and next I'm going to create the star. So I'm going to go over here to the tools panel and select the ellipse tool. Oh no, I'm looking for a star. Duh. Okay, so I'm going to select the star tool, and right now I have a few too many stars. So I'm going to hold while I'm clicking and dragging. I'm going to hold my down arrow key and reduce the number of. Wow, this is going to take a while. See, I was not quite ready. I had it right there for a second. There we go. So I'm going to get this just like this, and now what I need to do is hold the command key to shrink that down until I can also hold shift to keep it from rotating the star, and this looks pretty good right here, so I'm just gonna use this one. And I'm just gonna hit shift X again so I can see that a little better. And I'm going to shrink this down, and I'm actually going to hold shift, select this circle, and I'm going to click again on that circle so that the alignment will orient the star to the circle. So you can actually select both. Let me do that again. I select the star and then I select the circle, and then I let go of shift while I'm selecting, and then I can just click right on that circle and it kind of highlights it a little bit more. So now when I hold the horizontal align, it's going to align the star to the circle and not bump both over. So just like that. And I can do this, but I don't think that's not going to work right when I align it vertically. So I'm just going to select it and just kind of drag it up. Looks like it's a little off anyway, so I'm going to again hold shift and alt and shrink it down just a little bit. Okay, go in here. Looks pretty good. I'm going to bump it up just a tad, just by clicking and holding shift while I drag so that I don't move it from side to side. And I'll just go in here and just really get to the nitty-gritty details. All right, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch these circles out of this main big circle. So this big circle here is behind all these, so I'm going to click and drag. Make sure that you had locked that image before, or else you're going to drag the shield around. Of course, you probably would have noticed that by now. Now I'm going to go up here actually, and I'm going to select this 20.25 line weight. I'm just going to select that. I could go a little bit bigger. It's so that there's a little bit of distance between them. But I think I'm going to select that. And now I'm going to go to Object, and then down to Path. And I'm going to go to Outline Stroke, and I'm going to select that. So now those aren't strokes anymore. Those circles are actually filled in circles, filled in objects. And I'm going to go over here to what's called the Pathfinder. And while they're all selected, those inner ones, not the outer one, I'm going to hit this Unite. So now they're all one solid object. I'm just going to drag down there. I'm going to hit Command Undo to undo that. Now I'm going to take this circle I'm gonna make it fill instead of a stroke, and I'm gonna select, holding shift, I'm gonna select all three. You could just click and drag around because we don't have anything else in there. Just make sure you don't drag over the star as well. And now what I'm going to do is go back to that Pathfinder, and I like to well, let's see if this just works, just clicking on it. Sometimes I'll hold Alt and it'll give me the option to expand the image, but now what that's done is you can kind of see the edges, and you can see that those three lines cut through that big circle to make these separate shapes. And now what I'm going to do is go up to Object, I'm going to go to Ungroup. That way I can select them individually. So I'll select those two. I'm going to turn them red. Well, that's a bright red. I'm going to make it a little darker. And I'm going to select this one. This one's going to be blue, actually. And probably more like that dark blue, like that. I'm going to select that star and this this ring, and these are going to be the white layers. Okay, so there I have my Captain America shield, and let's see how it looks. Pretty good. I guess I could brighten that blue a little bit more, because it's going to be bright when it etches, because, or when it's on the acrylic, it shows up a little bit brighter. So I might just go with this one for now. There's a few other tricks you could do, details, but I'm not going to get into any of that right now. I'm just going to keep this very simple and basic, this tutorial. Alright, I'm going to group everything just for now, so I don't move everything inadvertently, and I'm going to resize this slightly. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to have it say, I think I want it to say Captain America underneath. And so I'm just going to grab the text, the type tool on the side in the menu, and I'm going to select center align, and I'm going to hit cap locks, and I'm just going to type his name, Captain America. Alright. I'm going to undo cap locks. I'm going to select the type, and I'm just going to click and drag, make it bigger. Trying to decide on the design whether I want, because I could have the shield here. I like it big like that. I like the shield, kind of looks cool. All right, so one of the things you can do is we're going to click on Align to Artboard. This graphic is fairly aligned. I'm pretty sure that the cut line is centered, so it should fit pretty good. I'm going to shrink that down just a little bit more. And maybe what I'll do is, because I thought I would have more room, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have Captain America written maybe on the top of the piece. So I'll drag this down. You don't want to go below this line right here with your design, because then it's going to be hidden because the lights are right here where that groove is. So let me select the black arrow here. I'm going to go up, let's resize this. First thing, let's pick a different font. I think I want to do something kind of, that's pretty good. I'm going to use this Collegiate Heavy. I like that. That looks cool. And we're going to bump things onto different layers here to make it even cooler. Alright, so I think I can move this shield down just a little bit more and still be, you can see the bounding box here. I still have a little bit of room. So that way I can make Captain America even bigger here. And I'm going to go ahead and center this, go to align, and then center. All right. So let's see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the type, and I'm going to, let's see, I think it's Command Shift 0. Yeah. Command Shift 0 will turn the type into a graphic. So now what I'm going to do is actually ungroup this. Let's see if this works. I've done this a few times, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't for me. So it ungrouped that, but I'm going to put the outline. So I'm going to ungroup it. Oh, no, it's not going to work. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to just, I might have to just cut and then paste again. No, that didn't work. I could do it in the center here. I think this will work. So cut, paste, cut. Oh. Huh. All right. Paste. So it made a little. Oh. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit Command Y. I love outline mode. Hit Command Y, and I'm going to get the white arrow. So this will be a good little lesson thing. Oh, you know what? I jacked it up. Let's try this. I'm going to undo that. Got to take a good look here. Now what I need to do. All right, so I just need to make sure that while I'm in here, that I cut both that inside of the A and the outside, and then I can go back over here to the Pathfinder and click on this minus front option, and that will cut out that inner part. So I'll have to do the same thing with the P here. Grab that and make sure I click on, hold Shift and click on that inner part once I'm inside the compound shape. Hit Command X, and then I'm going to hit Command F, and then go back over here and just punch that inner part out. Okay, I'm going to speed this section up, and also I wanted to make a comment that after doing this I figured out what I was doing wrong, and there's actually an easier way to do this. Going back to after you've converted the type to a graphic, select the type graphic, now go back to the Pathfinder and click on the divide option. Then ungroup them under the object menu, and that's basically it. Just make sure that you select all the parts you want grouped and group them back together. It's not a technique I use very often, but I hope that helps. Okay, now I'm done with that part, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click and drag, making sure I'm only hitting that top part, and I'm going to cut that just to make sure, yeah, that's what I got. Undo that, and I'm going to group those together. So I'm going to hit Command G to group them together. Now I'm going to select over all of them, and then I'm going to hold Shift and click on that one I just grouped to ungroup, to unselect it or deselect it. And now I'm going to hit Command G again to group all the text on the inside. All right, so I think what I want this to look like, we could make the type. I'm going to click and drag everything over here into the gray area so we can get a better idea of what these colors are going to look like, since we're just white on white over here. So I'm going to select Captain, and I'm going to hit I, or you can go over here to the toolbar and select the eyedropper, but I hit I on the keyboard, and now I have the eyedropper tool. I hit Command, and I can bring up the black arrow, so I can just click on the background and deselect that. And then let's see, what does this look like if we make the outside red? Like, that looks pretty cool. Does it look cool if we make the type? I feel like we are lacking in blue, but blue is sort of like the, you know, the main color is white, followed by red, probably, or maybe red is the main color, but we could always make this outline, oops, Let's try that again. We could always make the outline blue. That's not bad. Yeah, maybe I'll go with that. The thing you got to keep in mind is the offset when you're making an edge light, because sometimes the offset might become a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the blue on the back. It's going to be on panel 3, the back panel. And the next will be, maybe I'll put, you know what, actually it might not be a problem if I have the white layer on the in the middle, and then the red will be in the front. That might actually work best. So I can make this blue, and maybe I'll just do that. All right, cool. So now that that's figured out, I'm going to leave these here. I'm just going to just leave that there for now. All right, so we need to drag things to their proper layer. Maybe I will just color them real quick. Can't see it, but it's white. That's why. All right, so like I was just saying there, whenever I'm designing these, I'm always thinking of what layers I'm going to have things on. So right now, all my design is on layer 1, and I'm going to unlock this and throw it away. I don't need the shield anymore. All right, so, and I might actually bump this up just a tad so it's a little closer to his name. I could actually have it overlapping too. That might be kind of cool. Huh. Like if it's bumped over his name. So then I can make the shield even bigger too. So it's like it's covering up his name just a little bit, but it's still legible. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. All right. So to do that, what I'm going to do is go up here. I'm going to make sure I have this red circle. I'm going to hit Command C to copy it. Oops. I'm going to click out of that. And now what I'm going to do is select the name Captain America here. Just the one name, just in white. I'm going to hit Command F to paste that circle in front of that. Now holding Shift, I'm going to select all those and go back over here to the minus front, and I'm going to hold Alt. I've noticed it gets a little bit, it sometimes won't work right if I don't hold Option or Alt when I click. So I'm going to hold down Option or Alt and click, and so now what that did is it cut away the image. It's hard to see here, but I'm going to duplicate it. So it cut away the image in the name, so you can't see it. All right, I could just do this so you can actually see it. Now I still have that circle copied, so I'm just gonna same thing, Command select the outside line, the blue line, hit Command F, and I'm gonna paste it on top. Select both the shield you just pasted, and hold Option or Alt, and then click on minus front, and then hit expand. And now that's been kind of chopped away so that it won't show up through, because they're edge lights, you'd actually see the words through the lights in front, the red in front. So you'd see the white in the outline through that red shield, and you don't really want that. All right, that's kind of fun. So I gave you, made it a little bit interesting by doing that. All right, let's do, yeah, this is good. All right, so next thing you need to do is drag things, don't need the Pathfinder anymore, drag things to the right, the correct layer here. So I think I said I was going to do red in the front. First I need to ungroup that because I had it all grouped. So red, I'm going to select all the red. Oh, I'm already on the front panel, duh. So, okay, so I'm going to select the white. Everything that's going to be white, and that includes the name. And you can do these one at a time. I'm going to do them all at once. Aha! Well, I'm glad I did that because I just realized I had made a mistake here. So, one other thing I need to do. First, I'm going to drag the blue down to panel 3 because that's going to be on the back. And now I need to select my star, and I'm going to basically cookie cutter or punch it out of, so I'm going to hit Command C to copy that. It's go ahead and hide that. And I'm going to select panel 3, blue, select the blue circle, and I'm going to hit Command F to paste it right in front, right on top. It's going to paste it right in place. Let's go back, open up that Pathfinder, and then hit the minus front. So it doesn't look like it did anything, but it actually punched the star shape out, which is what you want. Or else you'd actually have a light blue star in the middle here, because you'd have that fully filled in circle shape, and you'd be able to see the white star in front of it. But you might actually get some blue color shining through that star to make it a kind of a light powdered blue, and you really don't want that. So, all right. So these words are still up on panel 1, so I'm going to drag that down. All right. So first I'm going to turn on the panel 2 again. These are going to be really bright, so I'm going to select panel 2. I'm going to go up here. They're all different colors now because that's gray. And I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it just a really dark gray. And this has to do with the laser etching and how it'll engrave based on grayscale. The lasers, the one that I'm going to be using an Epilog laser, and it uses grayscale. You want to get familiar with whatever laser you're using to figure out how it kind of sees the image. If it can just etch color, that's one thing, but I feel like using the grayscale really gives you much more control. Alright, so now I'm going to select all of the blue layer, and I'm going to make it not quite as deep of an etch, so I'm going to select a lighter gray for that. The reason is it seems like a lot of Captain America's shield, it has a darker blue. I'll keep that one. It'll be bright. It'll be fairly bright. And then red is actually pretty dark, and I don't want it to look very pink. And the kits actually give you a lot of control over the color, but I still like to choose colors that help along with the process. So if I etch it really lightly, I don't have to worry about the colors being too bright if I'm looking for a darker red. Alright, so now we have all of these on the right layers, and I sometimes I like to label these, so I'm going to say panel 1, and I'll type that's the red layer. Double click on the name for panel 2, and I'm going to say that's the white layer, or just type it. I'll label panel 3 as the blue layer. So we got red, white, and blue. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is this is important, I think, especially if you have text, and I'm going to flip the image here, or mirror it, depending on what you're using. Reflect actually is, I think, I always just say flip. I always use the wrong terminology. It's probably a bad habit, especially if I'm trying to teach people how to use this stuff. But you go up to the object menu in Illustrator, transform, then down to reflect, and you click on reflect. And if you hit the preview, which it has here, it's showing you the difference here. And that's going to backside etch. And the reason, I'm going to hit OK. The reason that's important is you'll get a little bit of mirroring from the layers of the panels, because the layer that's behind the one in front, you might see like a reflection of the words in that panel if you don't backside etch, and it just gets a little bit confusing. So all right, so that's pretty much it. It's all ready to etch. Now what you'd want to do is just turn off the layer that you're turn off any layer that you're not etching or engraving. I use etching and engraving interchangeably, as you've probably figured out. But panel 1 is going to etch first, and then I can etch panel 2, and then I'm going to etch panel 3. And yeah, that will be how that will go, and I'll see you there at the laser. Okay, here is the kit that you receive from Edge Light Kits when you get it. There are 3 acrylic panels. They're 1/8 inch cast acrylic. The other thing you'll get is this piece of styrene that's cut out to the correct size of the cutout that you receive. This will help actually if your piece is in a brighter setting, it'll show up a little bit better. And it's optional. You could put that on or you don't actually have to if you don't want to. This is the front plate. Here's the screws and that will come with it that hold it all together. There's the back plate, and then here are the electronics. You see the buttons on the back for changing the colors in the light show. There's a switch to turn on the lights, as well as a small micro USB plug for recharging the battery. The battery probably lasts about an hour to an hour and a half at full charge, and that's it. Okay, peel the paper off of just the top part of the acrylic. Again, this is 1/8 inch cast acrylic, and you want to check your laser manufacturer's settings for the different power and speeds of cutting and engraving on acrylic. But I find that engraving for these edge lights, a little bit goes a long way, so don't over engrave them or else it'll be too deep. So I only usually engrave at 300 dpi. I don't think it needs any more than that. Alright, the next step is putting the pieces together. First you want to stack them all together in the right order, and I usually flip it upside down then. Then you can take the screws and fit them through the plate. I prefer to have the matte side facing out on the front plate. There's a glossy and a matte side to it. They really go together easily. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes, but don't worry about that. I like to put the pieces on one at a time. After they're all together, I fit the electronics in to their spot, and then you can just add the styrene. And once the styrene's on, you put the back plate on to hold it all together, and then you can just finger tighten the nuts onto the screws, and that usually is enough. You don't need to use a wrench or anything like that. On the back there is a switch for turning the lights on. They're very easy to program the lights. There are 3 buttons on the back. The first one, if you hold it in, it'll put it'll put it into light or color changing mode. The next thing you do is the second button will actually change the color, and you can just the color to what you're looking for. Hit that first button again and it'll go to the second panel. It always starts off on the first panel. Now I can adjust the color for the second panel, which is white, is what we want for the star and that other ring. After this, I will press the third button actually will control the brightness, so I'll press that button to get the brightness that I'm looking for. So there I went a little too far, and now I hit that first button again, go to the third panel, the blue color, the blue panel, and I will adjust the color to what I'm looking for on that panel. And once I'm happy with that, I can hold in that first button, and then the lights are programmed. Alright, that pretty much does it. Now that the lights are programmed, on the back, that first button, if you just press it once, it'll go to the different light shows. Each board comes pre-programmed with multiple light shows, and you can adjust the speed and timing of them. So I hope this was a helpful tutorial. Thanks.